TY returns Klong and Sorry. They do also have Asif, who is a substitute. Oh, sorry, Asf is how you pronounce that. AYSF.
What's really cool to see in China is that most teams normally have at least 1 or 2 subs even. That's been, quite common in China. So, and look at these guys, by the way. RPG, the opponents of SOA in this very first best of 2 of the new phase, representing their new logo, which I'm personally a big fan of already. And we can see Timeless at the very back here, sitting and smiling. Yeah. So it's definitely safe to say that he will be part of the team's main roster up to this point.
Exactly, and so this is quite a surprise for people, because RPG, the team that went the longest without a change, but here you can see the new lineup. Chicken is returning. They've managed to steal away MJ and C and Timeless, though. The only 2 remaining players of the original roster are Chicken and Sa. Loktar is actually still on the team roster, as is a new player, Wrong BGG, but spelt with an R, not a W there. But both of them, by the looks of it, are either subs or are not available for this first stage. And Timeless will be taking up the role as Assassin in this first set, with even more role changes. Sa is moving on to the Sa is moving on to the flex role as opposed to support. MJ's taking support, and Chicken is now warrior combined with C. So Chicken's probably filling the same role as he did last season.
Exactly, and here we see the team's key player, Timeless, highlighted here. Although last season didn't really go so well for his team Timeflow, he still remains an absolute force in the league. Well known for his garage play. We saw some he was basically one of the trendsetters. Can we say that real quick? Because garage is all over the place right now. No matter if you look at NA, Europe, Korea, or China, the Eastern Clash was basically dominated by early garage picks. And it's safe to say that Timeless was among the first to really play it consistently here in HGC China.
It was like a Timeless from China, and then which European player was it? I think it was Scylla? Mopsio.
Yeah, Mopsio.
It might be, I think it was Mopsio. So, yeah, they did a pretty fantastic job. But as you can see here, RPG with a new logo, which someone pointing out potentially says RGP in terms of font there. But the name is, in fact, RPG. So, apologies for that. Here you can see statistics. But with the amount of roster changes RPG have undergone, these mean nothing. Everything is up in the air and anything could happen.
Absolutely. Anything is possible here. We also need to talk a little bit more about SOA, because that is a team that has improved consistently. If you've been following HGC China for a longer period of time now, then you will notice how they started at the bottom and now they're all the way in the top 4. They barely didn't make it to the Eastern Clash. They fell to the likes of the One. If they had taken that victory home, it would have been them on the big stage. But maybe they'll be able to take that spot this time around.
Yes, SOA, they actually beat out RPG, they actually beat out Beyond the Game, and then went in a 3-2 series with the One, with the winning team moving on to the Eastern Clash. The One were able to take that, but SOA was so close. It was just one little mistake that stopped them from going to the Eastern Clash. But they've only raised themselves up in standings, which means, in theory, mid-season brawl. Actually, that's going to be difficult, because mid-season brawl, only 2 teams of China go, because Korea won Eastern Clash, so they get the extra spot, I believe.
So they get 4, and I think there's going to be 1 slot from Taiwan, so...
And that potentially means 1 slot from China. Ooh, interesting. So a lot of pressure. That's the point of these clashes. They are very important.
Absolutely. It's by far one of the most prestigious tournaments all year long, maybe only second to BlizzCon there at the end of the year. For now, though, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive into the action here of Dragonshire, SOA versus RPG. We're super excited to get this on the way. Feel free to share this with your friends that are also interested in Blizzard games or Heroes of the Storm in particular, because HGC China is here to stay. 5 weeks, by the way, of consecutive league play, if I'm not mistaken. 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's going to be a blast.
Yes, it is. Always fun. HGC China has never had a disappointing season, I will argue. I think it has always been entertaining, and we're going to keep that up. Starting off with bans, we're sticking in line with the other regions for now. We have the Maiev ban as first, Tracer ban as second, but we still see Malfurion being picked up as the first pick, even with Tracer missing. He's still just that highly prioritized. Now let's see if they keep up with the rest of the world in really prioritizing that Stukov as potentially the second highest level support.
Yeah, Stukov, ever since the Western Clash, where we could basically rename that hero to Shatkov. I mean, he was just turning it up. He was showing the rest of the world how it's done properly. And ever since, as Tetris said, the Admiral has risen in popularity so much. Another hero that is quite popular, or quite becoming very popular in the global scene, is Medivh, ever since he has received a pretty significant fancy update. The Arcane Explosion build, most importantly, is just very, very potent. And especially if you have...
nerfed.
It's got nerfed a little bit, but I think it's still very much powerful. Insomnia, an old familiar face that has kind of vanished for a phase because of several nerfs that hit her, is now back in the mix as well. So let's see what the Chinese teams have learned from watching other regions potentially. And we do want to talk about this later, I guess, but the Chinese teams, they suffered a heavy blow at the Eastern Clash. Many people thought it would be their time to come back, to rise again, and with the exception of SBT, that didn't really go so well. SBT, on the other hand, though, I think they could have almost taken a series or maybe a couple of maps of teams like Tempest and Blossom, but it was not meant to be. It was very close at times, though. Yeah,
China definitely have the potential to keep growing, but right now, I'm going to say these roster changes for some of these teams were very needed to raise the region as a whole. The variety could be a huge deal due to what's the word I'm looking for? Complacency breeds something. I might have forgotten the first word and added the second word as the first word there. Here we see Zeratul being banned out against SOA. Now Zeratul has re-leapt up in priority here, so not too surprising.
And this could be very good for RPG as well. We all recall how strong of a Zeratul player Chicken was, but unfortunately for him, Zeratul wasn't really part of the current meta pre-Eastern Clash. Now, post-Eastern Clash, however, we've seen a big resurgence of slash build Zeratul with VP, dealing a lot of AoE damage, healing himself for a quite significant amount. So he, once again, can be that combo enabler with a Ring of Frost potentially, or any other AoE abilities.
And so we see here the fact, we didn't actually point it out, but Hanzo being picked up so early used to be very common. Not so much these days in most regions. He's still popular. He'll make it into a lot of drafts, but as a first pick hero, it is a little bit strange. Maybe a main tank might have been a little bit more down the street of RPG, but they clearly wanted that Hanzo, so they clearly went for it, and they have it. So let's see how they're able to use it. They bring out some dive heroes in the form of a Nubarag, and they bring out follow-up damage. Their backline is now very squishy, but their front line is incredibly dangerous and high in terms of crowd control.
Yeah, very squishy indeed, especially if you take a look at Jaina, who normally lacks escape mechanics or mechanisms like other ranged assassins do have. Hanzo has, of course, natural agility. Jaina needs a little while to stack up her damage and then gain access to the infamous Ice Block trait. However, I think it's very strong, as you pointed out, in terms of burst damage. So right now, RPG's composition just screams one thing, and they want to lock someone down with an Anubarak, and they want to follow up with all the might of their combined efforts with Jaina burst, with Hanzo burst. Lots of CC actually available should Sony even consider a potential lead play.
I wouldn't even be surprised to see Hanzo going for a Q-based build as opposed to the slightly more usual... Most of his builds are actually pretty viable, which is something great about the hero. But I would argue Redemption and the Scatter Shot, the Perfect Geometry, are a little bit more usual to see. Now, Junkrat and Blaze. This is a very... very Eastern and Western Clash comp, and like you said, a Hero League comp coming in absolutely from SOA to begin with. Very meta.
And I like it too, because they basically secured themselves 3, maybe even 4 of the strongest disengage heroes available in the game right now. We have Blaze. Bunker, of course, did receive a little bit of a nerf lately, but still makes this ability so strong in competitive play. You have protection coming in from Turiel, Sanctifications, and Righteousness shields. And most importantly, in my opinion, is the raw disengage potential by Junkrat. You have the Concussion Mine to knock people like Anubrek, like Sonya, away from you. You have great reinitiation tools there as well with the Twilight Dream and the Riptire. So right now, it's cool to see that we see a clash of playstyles, whereas it's very important for RPG to lock someone down. It is equally as important for SOA to keep the opponents back at bay.
And Rhaegar is going to be the support. Very sensible. Stukov a little bit harder on this map. He prefers to be in the rotations. Rhaegar can be very independent. There's good mercenaries for him to capture on this map. And, of course, he has Cleanse. This can be a huge deal when against that Blaze, for starters. Really hard engage with his thrusters there. And if not, Roots from Malfurion could set up for incredible engages as well. So, pretty solid pickup here, and of course it's counter to the burst. So, it slightly lowers the small off chance there could have been of perhaps a Judgment Tyrael, if they were that desperate to blow up one of those two backline heroes.
Yeah, and I think you've brought up a very good point there. Right now, we're in a state in which oftentimes Malfurion is secured immediately in the draft, and then Stukov is the teams are trying to get rid of him or securing the hero themselves immediately as well, because Stukov and Malfurion, those strong AoE sustain supports that don't really require a lot of mana, which is a big upside for them. Those are really the go-to supports globally right now. We see a couple of variations coming in here and then. Rhaegar, as you said, very popular in China in particular. We still see Lucio sometimes. We still see heroes like Uther. And the absence of Uther in that draft, I'm not sure if he was banned or not, but is quite flabbergasting, especially if you think about China, who, for the most part, have been the strongest defenders of Uther.
Uther is pretty fantastic and might have worked here, but I still feel more comfortable with the Rhaegar just due to the AoE healing when you're against someone like a Junkrat. The amount of burst and AoE damage Junkrat can offer means that Rhaegar can be a fantastic healer, and Rhaegar does offer a little bit more map control and rotational ability than Uther would on this map.
Yeah, very true. Uther, for the most part, is very susceptible to crowd control, which is why heroes like Gul'dan, for example, are such a good counter to him. The Horrify almost always guarantees a hit on that melee range Uther, and as you brought up, Junkrat definitely going to capitalize on a support who tries to get into the thick of things. For now, though, I want to see how well Rhaegar can do, keeping everybody alive, because there is quite a lot of poke available, as you said, from the Junkrat alone. And Tyrael as well. I really want to see how well Chinese teams have mastered the art of protection play, by the way, with Tyrael and that bunker in place.
Exactly. These two tanks were basically the highest prioritized at Western Clash, and they were pretty high up at Eastern Clash as well. So let's see how well they're able to use it. They have a good assassin to go with it, so let's see how they do. Spawning on the left-hand side, it's start over again with Faye on Blaze, Uncle G on Malfurion, TY on the Junkrat, Klong on Tyrael, and Sorry is playing the Grey.
And on the right-hand side, in the reds, their opponents rocking that new banner. It is Chicken. On that Jaina, MJ on that Rhaegar, Sa is playing Hanzo, C is on that Anubrek, and it is Timeless after all on that Sonya.
Okay, so just as a heads up, I have the roster list in front of me, and the roster list states Chicken, Tank, cool. So Jaina, Tank confirmed, is what we found out here. But this is very out of the ordinary for the style of play that Chicken is used to. I mean, its burst damage is much more closer to his original play, I would say, but it's still unexpected. Timeless once again coming in, imposing his unique style of drafting onto his new team. Let's see how well it works out for him.
That's oftentimes the thing when you have a player like Timeless in your team. Oftentimes, a player who's very good mechanically and has a lot of knowledge that Timeless certainly does have, that player oftentimes likes to switch things up a little bit. And if we know how strong of a melee assassin Timeless has been last season with that legendary Illidan play, lots of good Thrall performances, then we know that his Sonya is probably no slouch either. So I'm really excited to see how Chicken is going to fare on that ranged assassin role for the first time, I think, in HGC history, that he's actually not on a bruiser or a main tank. And how well Timeless can justify the Sonya pick after all on him.
I will double check that in a bit, but we also see, though, it is the second time in HGC China history that a support has switched over to the ranged assassin role in the form of Sa. You can see Sa on this Hanzo in the bottom lane, dueling with Junkrat right now and doing a pretty solid job right now.
Yeah, Hanzo actually outranging Junkrat. Really well done here by Sa. You brought up a really good point. The other support that has gone ranged assassin is, of course, 365, who's currently back on the support role, however, for CE. So he basically switched from support, ranged assassin, back to support. Timeless, in the meantime, trying to hold that top shrine against two. Sorry and Uncle G joining the fray here, but he did so successfully. Sonya actually securing all that time for the first Dragon Knight to be unleashed, falling in the process, though, like a true hero barbarian would.
Very good job there. I have had to have a quick refresh, by the way. I think I'm very far ahead of you now because I had a bit of lag.
Okay.
599.
Let's
or
see.
590.
I should still be sitting at 6.8. Yeah, so can you go
Okay,
back?
I'll try it over.
Okay, awesome sauce. I'll just keep talking in the meantime. We are, of course, casting from a clean feed, guys, so sometimes Tetra and I will have to resync if one of us has a quick stutter or a short lag. Then it's going to take a while. But that's not...
What did you say you're on?
So 6.8.
620. That's close. That's less than half a second. That'll do.
That is more than fine enough here. Fei, in the meantime, getting surrounded and sandwiched, but can't get the body block in here. Timeless a little bit out of position. If he had been able to move just a tiny little more to the bottom side, then the jet propulsion would have been intercepted.
Very true. Also, I just realized I said less than half a second. 60 minus 20 is in fact, 80 minus 20 is in fact not 50. So more than half a second there. Math. As we do see mercenaries being picked up by both teams, Siege Giants being taken by SOA into this bot lane, going to give Klong a little bit of protection, and Klong, very appropriate hero to be sent down here, due to the fact he can continuously shield these camps, whereas TY, a ranged hero versus a melee solo laner, might give them a little bit more of a chance due to the fact Junkrat was getting outpoked in this bottom lane.
Yeah, and already Chicken and his boys are trying to keep that mercenary camp low. Malfurion and Uncle G actually using regrowth on the mercenaries, who will also benefit from the burst healing caused by Moonfire. So that is oftentimes a really nice strategy to keep a lane push going, just by healing all those mercenaries with Malfurion's Q. That doesn't really require a lot of mana. Timeless actually bullying two people almost behind the gates here on that Sonya, and the help of those mercenary camps, of course, denying a little bit of that magic damage coming in from Junkrat. But Tetra, it's so cool to see these two teams back in action. RPG, last place of the previous phase, they didn't really look so good, but already they're turning on quite the heat. This new roster maybe has reinvigorated themselves, and I really want to see how strong they can become. And on the other hand, we have SOA, who did so well last season, and I really want to see whether they're going to be able to maintain that shape and form.
Yeah, RPG holding a lead as well. See, can he survive this? No, he can't. Faye makes it a 1-for-1 trade. A Nubarak for Greymane, and everyone else is pushed back. Nice body blocks coming in there from SOA, but RPG coming in here holding a pretty decent XP lead at the start of the game, as you were saying. And I've also just checked. No, in fact, Chicken has never played Jaina before.
Yeah,
so
it's really cool to see. That has always been one of the things we were criticizing about Chicken. While he's an outstanding player mechanically, his hero pool has never really been that vast, that big, and oftentimes it was crippling his team's efforts to switch it up. They were always so predictable because a couple of players like Chicken and Wang. Wang, by the way, no longer part of the league, so the infamous Chicken-Wang duo. No, we're going to have to save that for another day.
Timeless spears to Klong, whirlwinding out, healing up with that level 4, and he gets away. Nice job here. Sa, though, having a little bit more trouble, but using that nice natural agility to give himself a good escape opportunity. And time for MJ to rotate and help.
Yeah, really solid escape there by Timeless, using all the tankiness, all the sustain that Sonya now has available in her kit. Most importantly, the ferocious healing there at level 4. Now we see Fei under a little bit of trouble. Hanzo completing the redemption stacks, which gives him more attack speed now. Going to be a very useful tool. Also going for the sharpened arrowheads at level 7, if I'm not mistaken, which lowers armor every time he lands an auto attack.
And that's going to be a huge deal, having the fact that he's having to duel Blaze down here, and unsurprisingly, because Blaze is losing. But having that extra attack speed and that vulnerability is that armor reduction is going to give him a pretty decent chance to be able to turn this around, especially with his team rotating down to bot. Nice interruption. Good Nature's Cure there, but Malfurion is instead going to be the one to suffer as the Cocoon is popped with the level 10s available. But here's level 10s on the other side. You can see the Twilight Dream is picked, but it's interrupted. Lovely Dragon Arrow by Saar.
And that was a big hit there. The Dragon's Era sealing the deal of Malfurion. And without the support, I don't think SOA can actually stay in this fight anymore. Sonya making sure that top front is not getting stolen. The Ancestral is clutch. MJ landing it though, and here comes the retaliation blizzard from Jaina. Wonderfully done. RPG is on fire right now, Tetcher.
Yeah, sorry with the disengaged roll. Saar chasing down Glong. Tries to get the deflect, but not able to do so. In comes Chicken. Oh, round the traps. Is Junkrat in position? Yes, he is. Just in time for the interrupt here. He's rotating up to top, though. He's going to be very slow. The steel trap just too far away. Trap is popped. It does actually damage the Dragon Knight a bit. But, of course, the Dragon Knight immune to crowd control and will begin pushing into this mid lane.
All right, second Dragon Knight online, and Jaina hopped right inside. Now we see the push going on in the middle lane. When middle is open, you basically have so much more movement freedom around the battleground. So applying this early game pressure on multiple forts at the same time. Look at that, by the way. Sonya is continuously assaulting that top lane. Nothing seems to be able to stop Timeless. The Dragon Knight is demolishing the middle while the rest of the team is taking care of the bottom lane. RPG is all over the place right now. They're looking like a reinvigorated, rejuvenated team already if you compare to the performances of last season.
Yes, they are looking really solid. These changes might have done them some real good here. Taking down 2 forts in the first 7, almost 8 minutes of the game. Very nice job, Chicken. You can see him unclassic, I would argue, passivity from him. Not going to get himself caught out of position on that low health Dragon Knight and on that even lower health Jaina once the Dragon Knight is popped. And this could
now snowball out of control here a little bit against Team SOA. They're already 1.5 levels, I would say, behind. They lost 2 forts now. That top lane, they just can't really seem to get under control here. No matter what they're trying to do right now, they are going to have to be on the back foot all the time. They're always running away from RPG. And I really wonder when all these, defensive tools will become available here. We do have Sanctification, we do have Bunker, but up to this point, it just doesn't seem to be enough to stop the aggression from RPG.
Yeah, the Cocoon so far seems to have been the undoing of those abilities. As we see C moving forward, such a huge shield, that subterranean shield, and of course that passive exoskeleton that Nubrak can get.
All right, Jaina already on mercenary duty again, trying to take care of those knights here. Jaina, probably one of the better mages to take care of that. With a little bit of micro, a little bit of stutter stepping, you can avoid much of the damage here. Timeless actually helping Chicken out here as well. And it wouldn't actually surprise me if the 2 of them together would take care of the top lane, because SOA has their own mercenary camp pushing against it.
And that seems to be the case, focusing on the mage minion first. As you can see, Chicken, nice steel trap there by Junkrat, using that concussion mine to push Jada into it. That does allow him to get out safely and move back towards his team.
All right, how much value can that top mercenary camp get done for RPG? It's so cool to see how much emphasis there has been put on those night camps respectively over the course of the last months, I would say. You can get so much value done if you don't pay attention and leave them unchecked. You're going to lose a fort quite handsomely here. Chicken needs to be careful though. Those Jaina flanks, we know how much Tiny's ranged assassin players like to go for them, but they're very risky if you're the one getting caught off guard.
You can see Saar continuing to harass here. C. That's not the slightest bit confusing, I promise.
Holding
As
ground.
we see Saar leaping over the wall there, giving himself a nice little bit of safety. And C. looking for a position. Now you can see that a decent petroleum, though, becoming a little bit of an issue for RPG in terms of positioning.
Yeah, that wizard mercenary, by the way, still alive, still causing a little bit of commotion here in the top lane. Saw using the natural agility to get out of harm's way once again. Sonya is not in the fray just yet. Jaina also just finding her way in onto the bottom lane. It wouldn't surprise me if RPG tries to stall it out a little bit longer, because 16 is so close. Big arrow still hitting Junkrat despite the concussion mine there.
Oh, but the second concussion mine and Ripper Air Junkrat's out of there, but that was clutch, able to predict that Twilight Dream, the turnaround, knowing that the Dragon Arrow is down. See, Ancestral neutral is landed by MJ, and this has allowed Timeless to arrive. Here's the bunker. Timeless shreds it though. Sanctification forcing Timeless to back up. In comes the Riptire looking for C, but the shield is just too much. Timeless dodges the propulsion, allowing him to heal a huge amount up, but C is too low. SAR is too low. They're having to back up a bit and let MJ heal them up before they want to re-engage again.
Healing Totem has been put down. That's such a valuable tool right now when it comes to keeping people alive. Timeless, untouched, absolutely untouched. He becomes the main tank up to this point until C on the Anub'arak will have healed a little more. But that was well played on the one hand by SOA, who for the first time were able to use their heroic abilities in pretty decent fashion. But on the other hand as well, RPG coming out on top as well. Just disengaging so well in that team fight, not letting anyone fall. That golden ancestral by MJ, once again, I think he up to this point is more than capable of replacing Sa on that support role. Wonderfully done, and with that 16 talent advantage as well, it is now their time to unleash the power of that third Dragonite of the game.
As Sonya this time, Timeless moving past the wall, both towers already down, hunts away the Greymane, some of the biggest damage output, just going to focus the Fountain for the moment, not going to go for the keep, but is continuously putting pressure on, lowering the tools. And you can see here, RPG, there's no attempt here to fully commit. In fact, you can see Jada in the top lane, soaking XP, clearing the lane, making sure they don't lose these structures while this happens.
Yeah, they're already embracing a more passive, macro-oriented playstyle. They're already trying to get that level 20 as fast as possible. They're trying to keep the opposing team at bay. They're trying to get a tower or a healing fountain here and there, but they're not really trying to go for the big killing blow. Chicken, though, brings himself into position on that Junkrat. Once again, those concussion mines. TY plays this so safely. This is basically a very nice lesson there for Junkrat players out there at home on how you can overextend with Junkrat, but only if you have a safety concussion mine available, and nobody saw that Dragon's Arrow. That never happened.
Yeah, but unfortunately, SOA did see that Dragon's Arrow, and they are moving forward, looking for another engage opportunity, knowing that that heroic is down, but they weren't able to find it. Isn't it strange, though, that we actually just saw Jikin falling back into his old role on the assassin of the dual soaker, just cleaning up the XP for his team? It's interesting to see.
That's basically all he did last year on that Illidan, when Illidan was a huge part of the meta. He was always that guy that the team put into double soaking duty. On Leoric, who was doing the same thing. And now on Jaina, he seems to have found his liking onto that duty as well.
You see here RPG stealing Mercs, but it's a bruiser for a bruiser. As we see bot lane also being pushed in. Both teams, in fact, look like they're going to push in hard with these bruiser camps. This might end up being a fort for a keep. That would be an incredibly inefficient trade for SOA. So the idea here was for them to kill off this fort and then port. You can see them immediately porting back a little bit early here. TY a little bit late because they're minions. But the keep is already down to half health, but they're back. If they can get some kills here, even if they lose the keep, which they certainly will, this might be worth it for them as they move forward, looking to try and catch someone, which they have. They caught Timeless using the holy ground. There, Dr. G free. Twilight Dream still available. Timeless so out of position. No Divine Shield for him. He is taken out, and now it's the full retreat. C once again, holy ground. Does he have the tunnel? Can he get out? The shield is procced, but it's not enough. 2 kills picked up by SOA.
Timeless and C, the 2 warrior players, the 2 melee frontliners, giving their life as a noble sacrifice. Totally worth it, though, in my opinion. Trading permanent damage on that top lane for temporary damage with, you know, a couple of death timers there. Absolutely worth it. I'm actually shocked to see how late SOA reacted to this. They must have known that if, with that bruiser camp, RPG decides to push in all the way through the keep, a fort is never worth it. The thought process behind it was, of course, to get a little more... Wait a minute, if they get a Dragonite, that's actually quite okay for them. Okay, I still wouldn't call it worth it for SOA, but they were trying to get as much experience as possible, even willing to be sacrificing a keep here, because level 20 is all they really need. And with that Dragonite, they're trying to repay the favor here, maybe getting that bottom keep. Still, 10 seconds until Anub'arak here comes back. Still, that 1 tower already destroyed.
Yeah, you can see the immediate rush in by SOA. They may even look to end here and try and do it before level 20 is hit, because it's so close. Yeah. But there's so few minions to be farmed here. How aggressive are they willing to be? Doesn't look like enough. The minions that pushed up with that Dragonite will be enough to get RPG close enough to level 20 that this would be a almost suicidal core attempt. So we're going to see SOA backing up, looking to farm up to their own level 20. They have taken a keep. They have an end game scenario. All they have to do is to not die. And that is a situation where they're then basically on even footing. Despite the fact they are very far behind structure-wise. Look at this, though. RPG, they don't care what you're doing with your Dragon Knight. They're looking to wrap around. Dragon Knight has rumbled them, though. They have been scouted.
Yeah, they have been scouted. They were trying to catch someone isolatedly here in the top lane while the Dragon Knight was still shimming, you know, in the middle lane. However, we do have to talk about that keep trade again. Like, I wasn't really expecting So to pick up that Dragon Knight so fast, and I also wasn't expecting them to get this keep just like that. So all of a sudden, in terms of raw keep trading, the top lane is not as valuable as the bottom lane, because the bottom lane is way easier to close a game in. You can finish the game much more easily there because you have more space to move around. You can dodge enemy skill shots much more easily, whereas on the Bridge of Death, on Doom, in the top lane, you can't really do that all too well.
And this is why RPG, what they just did, made a lot of sense. It didn't work out. But prioritizing the mercenary camps in this lane is such a big deal due to the fact that their base is open. If they lost double Merc camp, double Siege Giants, their bottom lane is incredibly undefended, which basically are free forts then over to SOA, where they can just rotate to top and kill that off with so much ease. So being able to at least control one of the camps and put pressure onto the second, even if they lose it, they cleared it super quick, this actually works out for them very well.
Meantime, we see Hanzo going for that bullseye at level 20. Now his Sonic Arrow is going to have a larger circle, a larger radius, and also applies a pretty significant 1-second stun onto the target. Material already brought low.
Timeless getting focused. There's the whirlwind. They can interrupt the sack. Yes, they can. Beautiful cocoon. But Bunker is dropped as well. Dragon Arrow, very short range, though. The beautiful Riptide renewed with the stun, but it still gives time for the sack materials. They turn it around as C is taken out. Ancestral Line 3-4-man Twilight Dream as they're moving forward, looking for Water Elemental, trying to slow down the chase here as Timeless is turning it round, looking for a chance to give Chicken a chance to escape. Ancestral Healing lands on Chicken, keeping him alive, but that leaves Timeless basically alone. He goes down. Full retreat out of RPG, but it's a 5v3 to potentially end the game. Sar gets healed up, continues to move back. Chicken is focused down. Can they finish him? Yes, they can. 2 versus 5. Core attempt coming in from SOA.
And this is SOA's time to shine. They were behind the entire game, but with a strong late game phase and the help of Bunker, Sanctification, and a huge Twilight Dream, they're trying to turn this around here. Only MJ is left alive, only the support, and that is not going to be enough CC or enough damage to threaten SOA away from the core. It is GG. That first game of the new phase in the Season 1 goes over to SOA in spectacular fashion. They overcome their opponent's RPG, who admittedly, though, Tetcher, looked much stronger than in the previous phase already. This is a team that has a lot of potential as we continue to watch this HGC China season.
I completely agree. I don't know if you noticed there, actually, but the fact that they ended there